y'all. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What you gonna play now?
I don't know. But whatever I play, it's got to be fun.
So about a month and a half ago, I did a video on this bathroom. This video was called "He Is Not a Tile Guy." I will post a link right up there, and you can watch that video. So I'm not going to go through all the little anomalies, the things that he did wrong on this job. I'm actually doing this job, so I'm basically going to replicate what's done here already, but I'm going to do it correctly. In the meantime, if I see anything that I didn't see from the surface, I will be sure to videotape that, and I will also try and save a little bit of this material as much as I can. I think I can get some of these pencil pieces out intact, and hopefully I can get these big trim pieces out intact, because they're quite expensive and I don't want to waste my customers' money. I don't know that I'll be able to get any of this tile out intact, but you never know. I've done it before. It depends on how he set it. Anyway, this is day one. I anticipate about maybe 6 to 7 days on this job to get this back correct, and I'm going to get started on this right now. I am going to call this job Anatomy of a Bad Shower, because as I get into this, the surface level part almost became incidental to the building methods that they used. I might do a little short look-see type of thing while I play some music and let you have a look on what's going on and figure out if you can tell all the mistakes. This is actually, if it wasn't so serious, it would be funny. For those of you that don't know, what cries out the most, like in the hour that it's taken me to do this demo, it really should take an hour. It should have taken me longer. It should have been more sturdy. It should have been a lot of different things, which it's not. And so let me go through some of those things which are obvious to most tilers and contractors. This is what's called spot setting, spot buttering, if you will. I don't even know that he butter. I mean, he did butter, but when you tile, you're supposed to trowel out your thin set, and your thin set gets troweled out, you know, a certain thickness. This thickness here is all over the board. It's just all over the board. It's not even sticking because it was never troweled on. It's not getting good adhesion onto this backer board at all. And so this is spot setting tile, which in essence he didn't come in here and trowel out all the thin set and then back butter the tile and then stick it on there and make sure there was good adhesion between the tile and the backer board. He just spot set it. He just put a little thin set on the backer board. Maybe he put some on the tile or whatever and then just stuck it on there and hope for the best. So that's like a huge no-no. These tile weigh a lot and they really needed good adhesion. Any tile for that matter, but these tile especially, they weigh a lot, and this is just a crappy way to do it. In addition, it may not seem relevant to you, but it is to me, he switched back and forth on thin set. So he had white thin set and he had gray thin set, and you know, white and gray everywhere. Look at this, you know, gray at the bottom, white at the top. I don't know what he was thinking. The danger is you're putting bone grout, you're putting a light colored grout in here. So you don't want the grout to get pushed in here and hit this gray thin set, and then the bleed through happens. So the bleed through the grout would make this grout not bone anymore, but it would make it more of a grayish type of color, possibly in little areas, not necessarily the whole thing, but little areas that would happen. The bleed through is a real concern. So you use white thin set the whole time, so that if there's any bleed through, then it's innocuous. It doesn't bother anything. So switching on the thin set is a big deal. The spot buttering that he did, I don't understand that at all. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about how he set the tile anymore. I'm over all of that. But all the building practice that he used, I don't know what he was thinking here. This used to be a bathtub. So, as I said on my last video, you don't use 1.5 inches. I don't know why he thought you could use 1.5 inch drain, and what he had planned on doing in order to put a drain in here. I don't know what he was thinking. This used to be the overflow, right? So the overflow, you have a P-trap. I don't know, until I take this out, I don't know what he did, but the P-trap is usually below grade. So this, honestly, I don't know what he did. I don't know how he came over here, and then he has the Studer in here. The Studer is basically like lack of a better term, a rebreather. You don't have positive water flow somewhere, and you can't get a P-trap in or whatever, so you use one of these. And that's a last ditch type of effort type of thing. I've never seen that in a shower, ever, ever, ever. And it's cockeyed, and I don't know why it's cockeyed. This is crap. Toenailed in a 2x6 from behind and then the side here to somehow get this shower fixture in. I don't know where he anchored it. It's anchored somewhere. One time there's a screw that's anchored in. You know, the whole thing is cockeyed. Same thing going on here. Back behind this stud and then toenailed it over here, so that's cockeyed. I don't know what he was thinking. It's a mystery. Oh, so let me show you this tile that was on here. Again, changing out thin sets. You know, we have gray, we have white, we have gray, and even on the smaller tile, you know, white thin set, gray thin set, and then in addition, you can see clearly where it was just spot butter everywhere. You know, like all of this. In addition to all of those mistakes, look at here. This thin set was so creamy, it was, you could actually pour it into a cup or something. You could tell that this thin set was very, very creamy when he put it on. And there's no reason and no excuse to have it like that. The thin set should be thicker, it should have some adhesion qualities, which get degraded when you add that much water to it. So, you know, like, this is an anatomy. I could tell what he did. I could tell in the past, going forward, what he did, and it's just all wrong. It's just wrong in a lot of different ways. Look at here. I don't understand why he put backerboard on the floor. It makes no sense on a concrete slab to put backerboard on the floor, but then he didn't attach the backerboard to nothing. He didn't put thin set on top of it. He didn't nail it. He put plywood below. I don't know why he put plywood. Why would you put plywood on concrete slab? And then he put backerboard on it, and I'm assuming that the plywood is free also, like this backerboard. It's just free. Nothing is stable on this floor at all. He made a concrete curb, which I never do and would never do. I don't really think it's necessary. It's overkill. So he went way overkill, made it, maybe he's a mason, I don't know, but he made a really nice curb. You saw it before I banged it up, you know, really flat, straight and all that stuff, and it's nice and solid concrete curb. And I don't know too much about masonry work, but I know anytime I do pouring concrete, I always put some type of, not rebar necessarily, but even some wire mesh in here or something so that it won't crack. You have this whole length of curb that if ever does crack, because it doesn't have the strength and it does crack, that crack is going to go through the tile. So imagine if you had a piece of tile sitting on here and then years later you end up with a crack, that will transfer into the tile and then you'll have a cracked tile. And wonder why that happened, because you have no reinforcement of any type of steel in here. Even some wire mesh, not even wire mesh, but you know, like chicken wire or something, I would have embedded in here. But a concrete curb, this is overkill and it makes no sense. Oh, by the way, this is the 2x6 form that he used to build this concrete curb. And when he got finished with it, I may just put it back there because nobody will see it. Oh, by the way, this mud guard is supposed to go on here. This mud guard stays on here until you're finished with the job. And of course he never used it, and that's why the tile was wrapped around the way it was to hide, well, he didn't mean it to hide the screws, but inevitably these screws are what you use to put your escutcheon on, and he would never been able to put a escutcheon on because he wrapped the tile around there instead of having the mud guard on there, which would have negated having those screws hidden, and then you tile around the mud guard. Oh, we don't need this. Let's just throw it back there. It's a very, very interesting thing when you take showers apart and realize all these anomalies that happen, because as much as I do these bad tile jobs, they really are kind of an anomaly. Don't run into this a whole lot. It would seem that I do. I really don't. There's really, really crappy ways to build a shower. This is one of the worst that I've seen, and then there's a good way, and there's a lot of different good ways. Trust me, there's not just one way to build a shower. Oh, another thing too, before I forget, there's 8 screws, literally. Well, let me back up. He used drywall screws to hold the Durock on. Durock makes their own screws that have a larger head, which ensures that, you know, it will stay on there much sturdier, and he didn't. He used drywall screws to put the backer board on, and he only used 8 screws. 8 screws with this whole backer board, and as luck would have it, this is 3 foot long. This opening is 3 foot long. So he said, rather than having the backer board have one half and then a second half up here, let me just put it elongated vertically. So he put one big board up here. The whole board had 6 screws in it with all that weight. If you remember, there was a lot of tile here, and there was these big giant trim pieces which weighed a lot. So 6 screws held on this entire sheet. 6 screws held on this entire sheet from, I'm sorry, there was a cut piece right here. From this point down, there were 6 screws that held this on. And I think there was only 8 screws in here. 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 8 screws in here for this entire sheet. I literally pulled this off with my hand the way you see it now. That's it. One entire sheet. 6 screws. I'm not even going to mention the fact this wasn't waterproofed. There's no waterproofing, no red guard, no aqua defense, nothing. But there you go, anatomy of a shower. I'm dying to find out what's in here. I know he didn't fill this box in. This is just floating in there. So that's probably a good thing, because otherwise I would have had to, you know, chisel out all that concrete had he filled that up. But I will be back if there's more. Okay, something else interesting. A couple things have happened. First of all, I got the curb out in pretty easy fashion. Had he done with the wire and all that stuff I was telling you about, probably wouldn't have been as easy. All I needed to get is one section, and then I just got it from the bottom. But the other part that made it easy was because it's comical to me. There's linoleum on this floor. So he set all this tile on the floor over the linoleum, which is idiotic because linoleum on concrete is relatively easy to get off. You know, it doesn't stick very well. The good thing about that is the rest of this tile and this huge buildup of thin set that I talked about in the other video, huge, do I sound like Donald Trump yet? Huge buildup of thin set will be easy to take up. I just get a crowbar up under it, start popping it up. I'm not going to do it now. Anyway, so I did do it on this plywood. Here's another interesting aspect. He did not glue the plywood down in any shape, form, or fashion, but he did nail it down, you see. So there's a few nails in here, relatively easy to get this plywood up. But he didn't nail, he felt like he could nail the plywood down, but he couldn't nail 2x4s to make the curb. He had to make that out of concrete. So it's a little bit of a oddity. Bam! He hit it with a nail gun. This is what I used to put the curb in. So yeah, he nailed this down, but not the curb. So here's a couple of interesting things while I'm on this anatomy of a bad bathroom job. I cleaned out all this area and cut the pipe down so I can reconfigure it correctly and put the proper drain in. In the meantime, all this stuff that was here that I vacuumed out, I found a piece of bread. You're probably wondering why there's a piece of bread sitting over here with all this garbage, and there is a reason for that. The guy wasn't hungry. There is a plumbing trick that we use bread for when we're having difficulty sweating pipe. If you drop some bread, you push some in because you've got too much water in the pipe and you can't get a good heat, or you can't get enough heat on the pipe to sweat it. You push some bread inside of the pipe, and that gives you a couple minutes to hurry up and make your solder so that the water doesn't cool down the heat you're trying to put on the connection. And so that's the reason the bread is here, in case you were wondering. Another thing, this used to be, which I don't know it to be, I'm assuming it was, a fiberglass shower stall, because this is a typical grab bar or a towel bar or whatever for a fiberglass shower stall, and you can see the fiberglass on the end of it here. So before they ever did a renovation here, this used to be fiberglass. Just some of the things that you find when you're looking around, and you know, part of the anatomy part.